this topic today is just really the duality of leadership and what this requires from us, and how leadership often requires what you could say is this a hardness to you, but then it also requires a softness to you as well. And just the dichotomy of it, though, handling these extremes, knowing when to be what, figuring out your own way of being what, or how do I show when I need to be on the softer side, have more compassion? How do I show this harder, this strength? When do I do these? And oftentimes we can see that the application of these aren't done properly. We can see where the scenario and the environment requires one, but we're given the opposite. But it's difficult. And when you put in your own emotions to how you feel about a certain situation, it can make the interaction be the incorrect one. So there can be a moment when you need to deliver news in a more softer method, but because it's upsetting for you personally, you may deliver news in a much stronger or much harder method than what was necessary. Now, this is all part of it though. Managing this sliding scale of who do I need to be in this moment? And that's the great question that I believe is the best way to be a dynamic individual who can express themselves through a multitude of emotions and not just be stuck in one phase or one emotion or one method of operation. The way to understand how do I utilize all of this that I may have, because some of you are going to be just dynamic individuals in general, like your charisma, your thought process, your emotional intelligence is going to be extremely high. So you bring to the table this ability to shift and maneuver through environments and through situations. You may be saying, well, how do I need to present myself? How should I act? What's the right way? Well, for you, really for everybody, but for you specifically, that the question that I say that I have used, and I think it works well for anyone else, in my opinion, so I've tested it and I know, is asking yourself the question of who do I need to be in this moment? What does this moment require from me? If you can ask yourself that question before you go into a room or in a meeting, or even sometimes in the midst of chaos, like what does it need from me right now? Your brain will give you the answer. Your brain will let you know, okay, I need to be this. This is what the situation requires from me. This is what it needs. I'm going to give it that. It's basically like saying, if I'm a surgeon and I'm performing a surgery, at a certain point of the surgery, I need to use a certain surgical tool. And then as when I move on, I need to use a different surgical tool to perform this surgery successfully. And that's literally what we're talking about when we understand that leadership requires such a broad spectrum of characteristics, emotional intelligence, ability to respond. And you have to just be able to do all these things, but do it from a wide perspective. And easy, well, I don't know, it's not easy. I'm gonna say it's easy, but I think it's a cheat code to saying, to knowing which way do I respond? Am I the tough motivator, or I'm the one who's more caring, concerning, listening mode and hearing people out? You can't be either one of those all the time because you're going to miss the mark. That's another piece about leadership, is that you have to be, people need to know what they're getting with you, meaning you're consistent, but really being ultimately successful allows you to carry your consistency, but at the same time, have the ability to maneuver when situations require you to maneuver. You have to know, okay, which surgical tool do I need to use today? I'm still a great surgeon. I still have a good attitude. I still have a positive belief system. And that's something that you can carry consistently, and that shouldn't waver. But there are times when, how do I respond? And the way I respond can change. That can be different. So when you're thinking about leadership and you're saying, man, I want to manage a team, or I'm in leadership and I'm trying to figure this thing out, you know, I want to go on the team and I want to be the leader and I want to push and I want to do that, but I don't want to seem like I'm over the top and or I don't want to come off as too weak, right? So let's say you don't want to come off as too weak, but then you want to come off as too hard. And you're like, how do I balance this out? Like, how do I balance out like, hey, work's not getting done. But I don't want to sound like a drill sergeant yelling at everyone to get work done because that may not work at all. You're figuring your way about what I need to be and how do I need to communicate in those moments? Who do I need to, what characteristics do I need to show? Do I need to hold somebody accountable and say, I hear what you're saying, but this is what's going on. Like, how do you balance all of that out? Here's what I can say helped me, continues to help me. One, I don't really expect to have all the answers, and I don't expect myself to get it right every single time. And I've gotten it wrong. There situations where I said, I could have been better there. But I gave myself a pass or I gave myself grace because I looked at some of the situations, I looked at the things surrounding the situation that may have said I wasn't the best that I could have been, but there were other factors going on that didn't necessarily allow me to be the best that I could have been because there were factors at play. But the understanding of that was okay because I was doing the best I could in that moment with the other factors that were in play. Now, did the other individual enjoy it? Not this conversation. Did they think I should have done it different? Yeah, of course. Did I think that? Could have, had I not had those other factors. But when I combined all the other factors, I just did what I could and I did what I thought was the best, and I was okay with that. I was okay with not necessarily having the most amazing experience. No, let's say when I say the most, I say I got this 80% right on this one. It might have not been the Vincent special 100 that I shoot for, but I can look back at it and say I did it 80. And with everything going on, everything surrounding it, that 80 at that moment was probably 100. So when you go to look at these situations and you're in these roles, and it's hard, like when you're in management, like it's the pull of it is difficult. And I have another video that I've got that talks about the three-dimensional pull of being a manager and being a leader. And this pull is significant on you. It's tough, it's hard. And so you have this pull going on, and you're trying to communicate, and then you're trying to respond to situations. In some of these situations, you're trying to influence and you're trying to persuade. In some of these situations, you're basically taking orders, being told this what needs to get done. At the same point in time, you're trying to say, hey, what about this way? Or you're trying to influence the orders that you've been told to go and do. And then the personalities that you have to deal with from above to below to just inside your own head. When you think about all of the different personalities that you have to deal with to be able to communicate with, and you know you can't talk to every single person the exact same way. Maybe you don't know that, but if you do know that, great. And if you don't, then stay with me because we're going to keep talking about that. Can't talk to everybody the same way. There's a way about this. I'm not going to go into that in this video, not in the detail. But if you have that, you have to understand, like, man, I need to communicate this way, this person, how they receive information. In other words, some people you may have to communicate boldly to for them to understand anything. Because if you don't come into them with boldness, they're just like, I don't want to hear you. You don't know what you're talking about. You're not strong enough. Other people you come to too bold, they're like, oh, you're disrespecting me. I'm the person. You can't talk to me like that. All of this stuff, you make all this stuff goes on. And if you have to sit here and in your mind, say, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? It's hard. It's confusing. It's crazy. It can be difficult. The question that I believe that works well, it works for me. So I'm telling you what I do. Say to myself, what does the situation require from me right now? What's required of me from this situation that I'm in right now? And this could be I could be in a meeting. I could be doing a one-on-one with a team member. I could be hearing bad news. I could be hearing great news. Just in my head, as the leader, I'm asking, what does the situation require from me? Because as the leader, even when I'm in situations where I'm not the person who's supposed to be pushing the project or pushing the group forward, meaning I'm more so kind of there to give input but not push it, I still ask myself what's required from me in this moment, what's needed from me in this moment, because a lot of times, even though I'm not the one who should push it, I can have contributions that do end up pushing it because I'm understanding what's needed. I'm looking at the situation in the room, and what I'm getting at now, so I'm like, I'm in a meeting room with several people, and I'm listening to everything that's going on, and I can kind of hear and figure out and put together some of the pieces that are missing in the conversation. I'm going to throw it out there because that's what's required in the moment. So again, when it comes down to leadership, it's a dynamic thing. And if you're one of those folks with a dynamic personality, you've got charisma, you've got high level emotional intelligence, you care about people, you want people to win, you want your company to win, you're trying to win, you know exactly what I'm talking about because you felt it, because your emotional intelligence, your sensitivity towards others, because of the charisma that you carry, you know this tug, you know this pull. Now, if you're the opposite and you're like the charge, bold, brash, everything's got to go this way, you might not know any of the stuff I'm talking about. You might see it as it's my way or the highway. And I go to every single meeting, boom, like knocking the blocks out. This is my day. That's how I approach it. It would benefit you to understand that there's a way to be a little bit more dynamic and have a little bit more understanding. And if you're the one who's really soft, it's like, oh, what do you want to do? Guys, what do you think? What would she do? Should we do this? Should we do that? If you're the one that can't give direction at all, and that's your normal mode of operation, that we got to get permission all the time, then you could benefit from this as well. What I mean by that is living on the extremes, either side, isn't beneficial. It's going to hinder your progress. But if you can be dynamic, meaning you can go kind of go like the similar, like I want to say on a violin, or I think it's a violin, where you just go up and down the strings, right? If you can be more dynamic with how you approach situations and your understanding, knowing when to press, when to back off, that is going to help you as a leader because in order to understand what you need to be in the moment, you have to ask that question and you have to think, you have to consider other things other than yourself. Okay. Hopefully it was short. I kind of lost track there. But again, the duality of leadership, it requires a wide range, but the dichotomy of it is what is very, very tricky and can be extremely difficult to manage. So I hope this was helpful for you. Please let me know, comment, like, subscribe, all of that good jazz. My name is Vincent. You can click somewhere around if you want to get more information, get more access, basically to or get personal access to understand like your situation. If you want to talk about that, click somewhere around here. We'll talk a little bit more about how we can personally help you if this was helpful. If not, tune in again, check in again, see you next one, and give me some feedback. All right. See y'all next one. Peace.